Hey guys, what's going on? Today on my epic stuff, we're going to be diving into a little bit of my Babylon 5 collection. And we're going to be looking at some customized props and some store-bought props to specifically one element of Babylon 5. I'm not going to go through everything I have that's Babylon 5. I'll do that in a different episode. But we're going into the Jeffrey Sinclair set, if you will. And that's something that I think is very pertinent at this particular time with Babylon 5 now being on HBO Max and people being able to watch it again. More and more people are revisiting the show and learning about Michael O'Hare and you know how he unfortunately passed away due to his mental illness and why that forced him to leave the show originally. A lot of people didn't know the story behind why Bruce Boxleitner took over the main role of the show after one season. And so now more and more people are sympathetic to the Jeffrey Sinclair character, and I want to dive into that a little bit. So, having said that, let's hit the intro.
Behold, my stuff.
With Jeffrey Sinclair, what a great character he was. The voice, tremendous actor, Michael O'Hare. Great actor, great voice. Troubled past. You know, at first when I was younger and my dad was introducing me to Babylon 5, I actually really wasn't even a fan of the show. I was a Star Trek guy. And I was like, Babylon, Stargate SG-1. Now I go back and I'm like, these are the greatest shows ever. And I'm really grateful that my dad introduced me to them because I may not have known about Babylon, but it ended up being my favorite sci-fi show ever. And I go back and I used to think, well, I like the seasons with Tron. You know, Bruce Boxleitner as John Sheridan. Now I go back and I watch it. John Sheridan's kind of an ass. I'm not a huge fan of that character, to be honest with you. I really don't like him as much. To me, Jeffrey Sinclair was the guy. And okay, he had to leave the show because he had mental illness and he wasn't able to perform. But, you know, JMS, to his credit, wrote him back into the story in a very pivotal way. And with all the shortcomings JMS encountered to change that 5-year arc, what a great job he did. And if you don't know the story of Babylon 5, Ice Cream Man. But anyway, so Michael O'Hare, Jeffrey Sinclair character, spoilers, fast forward about 1 minute if you don't know the show. Jeffrey Sinclair dies because he takes over as Ranger 1 and then goes back in time and becomes Valen in the same way that Delenn became partly human. He uses the True Luminary to turn himself into Valen and becomes their historical religious figure. So, end of spoilers, when Delenn is taking Jeffrey Sinclair's box of personal effects on Membar. It's presented to him. It's the episode where they have to figure out where Entil Za role will go. And it ultimately goes where Delenn is asked to step up, and then Naroon challenges that, and there's that whole exchange. But they present a box of items. And in that box of items, it's the same box that they present letters from Valen. That box is the same box reused, and it contains Jeffrey Sinclair's personal effects. And I'm going to show you my replica of those personal effects. I'm going to put a picture of his personal effects screenshot right here. And as you can see in this picture, you'll see that there is a red velvet box which contains his medal. It contains his ranger pin. It contains you can see his identicard there. You can also see his what is known as his squad patch. And so I'm going to break all that down. And of course, his Earth Force badge. And of course, at this point, Clark has taken over and Earth Force sucks. But he kept the badge, which is interesting. So I'm going to go over my Jeffrey Sinclair collection. I have not made the box yet. I wish I could just show you that, but I don't know I'm ever going to make it, so I'd rather just do this. So let's start from and work our way from one side to the other. The easiest replica to make, if you could find one, is the patch. Why? This is an actual World War II squadron patch. So I got this on eBay, and I've gotten them before, Death's Hands, and all I had to do was go in and use a black magic marker and make some modifications and color in to make the skull match the one that they had. Now, these are replica patches, which is probably why they differ from the one you see in Babylon 5. But my theory was, because this skull is actually smoking a cigarette, which you can't really see. I believe that when they bought the patch and were issuing out the Star Fury Squadron patches, they didn't want it to blatantly insult any World War II people. So they went in and recolored it for this one scene. And so I think somebody did what I did, which is go in and make the marker change. But this is a replica patch. They're very cheap. They're less than $10. They come out of Japan. And, it's a really easy thing to pick up. And it's 361st, TFS, EFC, and it's Death's Hands. And so, because it was so easy to pick up, I didn't regret one bit drawing on it. It wasn't like I scrounged up the only ones that are left and I'm tarnishing somebody's patch. These are replica patches. So I feel no sympathy whatsoever for defacing it and changing it, making it accurate to the show. So this is something that if you're going to do the Sinclair box, you have to have it. I've never seen anybody make one themselves. I've seen a couple people buy them without altering them. So, next thing is you got to have yourself a nice Earth Force pin. Now the Earth Force pin, I bought this at Rock and Shock 2019. I found a vendor there who had a bunch of pins. It's a beautiful enamel. It's a nice gold. It's reflective. It's a double pin. You can get them everywhere, eBay included. It's really nice. I have a thing for some of those kind of badges, and so it was no problem picking one up. A Ranger badge. They are all shit. They suck. Whoever is making these replicas didn't give a fuck about the show, which really bugs me. So I've tried a couple different things that I'm working on to make a better badge, but the Ranger badges should be gold, chrome silver, one human, one Minbari, and a very sort of aqua translucent sort of stone in the middle. They all come with this horrifically painted blue in the middle because they do one big metal casting and they do this. I've never seen any two-piece ones where there's a stone, this is the outer bit, and they put them together, which is what they did on the show. I've never seen a good one. If you have one, comment the video below where the picture is or where the video is. I will gladly go see it, like it, and tout it all day long. So what I did was I went through with a nice metallic aqua and I painted the stone over, and I went in with Molotov Chrome and retouched up the areas that are supposed to be silver. So this whole piece across here is supposed to be silver. These bits are supposed to be gold. The human is gold. The Minbari is silver. And when they overlap, there should be silver here, gold here, gold here. So there was a lot of gold, and I just painted over a lot of that gold with the silver. The good news is that the Minbari was silver, but a lot of it really wasn't. It was kind of a shit thing. And if you look at the back, the whole thing was done in gold. So it is it's a fastener pin. It's not there's no rubber hinge here, so I may replace these with rubber things. It's not a magnet seal, which is what I would prefer. But if you just paint the stone and touch it up with some Molotov Chrome, it looks a lot nicer. And if you just kind of pin it to yourself, it catches the light in such a way that it stands out better than that solid blue. It'll display nice, but it's still not what I wanted. So me being me, I can't ever just leave it. I made a casting and poured clear resin with a mixture of that same paint, just a drop, and created a translucent stone. And so now the whole thing is this translucent thing. So I got to cover this whole back and everything. So I'm going to go in and I did a little bit of chroming over it with Molotov just for now. But what I'm really going to need to do is go over it with a base coat of gold and then go in with the Molotov again and do the silver parts. But my plan is to paint this whole backside silver here or gold and let that shine through so you get that nice translucent quality that it has now, and then wet sand this badge down, this stone just a little bit, seal it, and I'm going to make a nice custom Ranger pin that looks more like the show. It's the best thing that I can come up with to make a better Ranger pin, because as nice as this all metal one looks, that doesn't look like a stone, that looks like a stone. So I'm going to see if I can marry the two a little bit. Ideally, what I should do is cut this entire stone out and put a cast one in the middle. I just don't know that I can do that. So there's really not much I can do about that. Next thing, before we get to the big one, I made these. These are custom identicards that they use and scan throughout the series. It wasn't hard to create a vector file and make these, even down to the the top piece there with the little bits of the ruler, if you will, in the top corner up here. This is all accurate to the show. There's a blueprint they actually released in a book. I used that as a base. I printed it on vellum, and I just glued the guys together. And so there should be a hologram on the back, but I wanted mine two-sided, so I forewent the hologram. But Jeffrey Sinclair had one where you see his face. So I had to go in and make one with his actual image. Now, here's the problem. They took the photo they used for the badge in production. It's actually his production photo of him in his, Ranger 1 costume. That photo was never released, so I can't get my hands on that photo. If you have it, please send it to me. I would love to put the accurate picture in. This is as close as I got. And the reason you could tell it is not accurate is because it's actually short Season 1 hair on the Ranger 1 body. So it's not exactly accurate, but it's as close as I could come to his identicard. So I've done that, and I want to put the hologram on the back of this one, but I just never got around to it. So with those two things being done, we come to the pièce de résistance, the big money item that no one ever seems to be able to find because it doesn't exist. So I made it exist, and that is the Battle of the Line badge. I did manage to get in touch with somebody who owns the actual one. They reached out to me, actually, and they were able to provide me with a lot of measurements and pictures to help me with mine. I shared this photo with JMS, and he told me it looked really close, quote unquote. He thinks I did a great job, and so I'm very happy with it, but this was not printed on the highest quality printer. It was printed in the PLA plastic days, so the closer you get, the more you can see how those letters don't look as accurate as I want them to. The vector file that I used to 3D extrude, that I had somebody 3D extrude, is great, and I gave them the ability. I actually gave this file away. It's on Thingiverse. You can 3D print your own. Everybody should have one of these. I don't sell these. I gave it away. I want people to have Babylon props, so I don't make them. But I am going to revisit this and make a more accurate run, printed in resin, so it looks really badass. So this one, now that is a finished one, I may sell it. So I have a box that's too big, but if I redid this in red, I would attach this up top and do all the bits that I'm supposed to, and that would go in the box, and then you'd have the two items there and there. So those are all the component pieces of Jeffrey Sinclair that you would need for Babylon 5 if you were doing a Sinclair box, but you can arrange them in these little displays however you want, and it really doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, you have all the components that would comprise a Jeffrey Sinclair tribute box. I have other things that I want to share with you guys, including a custom Mbari head, because I planned on doing a Valen at some point. I have a Triluminary that I made myself, which I believe I did a video on here, but we'll revisit it. And a PPG, as I said. So there's more Babylon stuff coming down the line as I slowly go in and out collecting the bits. So thank you for checking out my B5 props. Have a good day. Please feel free to share your epic stuff, and don't let anybody ever give you crap for being a collector. Do what makes you happy.